Well, hello, everyone. Jeffrey Daugherty, Christian Whistleblower, Jeff Daugherty Show, Gospel Truth Channel. Nice to see you here. Our first show tonight, actually our third show with Michelle Thompson, but the first one that we've actually given a name, calling it What If, because we're going to look at a bunch of different possibilities, a bunch of different scenarios, and we're going to dare to ask the questions that maybe don't always get asked and look at the scenarios that don't always get looked at, and we're just going to talk about what if. And I do think tonight we're going to finish talking about the haunted house scenario and some other information that we weren't able to get to last week. And I think Amanda's also scheduled to join us if she can to talk as well about more of the haunted house and what it was like from her perspective. And of course, I hope that if you're new, you'll consider subscribing to this channel. And even if you're old, I hope that you will continue to check and make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, because for some reason people have been getting, dropped off the rolls for whatever reason. And I also want to remind you that we have shortwave radio every Wednesday. You can see in the box below the shortwave radio schedule. I also do have a website, which you now see on the screen, jeffreydaugherty.com, where we help you lose religion and find God. That's the idea. We do have our world famous, amazing, spectacular divining rods. We've got some cool T-shirts, even the I'm Divine, I'm Sovereign, I'm Free shirt, the Plastic Jesus shirt, books on everything from Revelation to Elvis and Paul McCartney. Lots of great stuff. We also have the MYSTECH bracelets. So if you want to change your life, these bracelets that I wear, they're tremendous. Come here, read about them, find out about them. If you decide you do want to own them yourself, go ahead and click on this down here. And if you see this, donate to Jeffrey Daugherty MYSTECH Bands, you are saving 20% and you are helping your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. The paranormal trip, ladies and gentlemen, is just exploding. Next week, I'll be back at the Fort Drum Crystal Mine. We're also going to go to some haunted locations in Vero Beach, Florida. And then coming up in June, I've just got confirmation today, overnight at the Brushy Mountain State Prison, the former notorious Brushy Mountain State Prison. Your Christian whistleblower has been invited to be at an overnight paranormal investigation, overnight paranormal event at the Brushy Mountain State Prison in Tennessee. So we're looking very forward to that. That's going to be awesome. So never a dull moment around here. Never, it's never a dull moment. There's nothing more I can say. And speaking of never dull moments, I have with me tonight, it looks like both Amanda and Michelle. So we're very glad to have both of them in. I'm going to get them both on the show here. Michelle, you've met before. She talked with us last week. And then Amanda is going to be talking with us tonight. And that's Amanda that you see there. Let me go ahead and get everybody unmuted and get everybody brought in. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be very exciting. And there's all three of us. So let me unmute these lovely ladies and we'll get started. Hello, ladies. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Jeff.
Amanda, nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for bringing me in.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I understood that you went and picked out your wedding dress this weekend.
I did. I found one.
Is it simply fabulous?
Oh, yes.
Amazing. Oh, you can't show pictures because the groom can't see you before, right?
Yeah, she already told me that I couldn't post the videos on Facebook. I was like, oh, damn. She goes, no, Daniel can't see it.
That's amazing. So, Amanda, you've known Michelle all your life, right?
Yeah, that's my mom.
Interesting. Before we get into talking about the house, tell me, what was it like growing up with a mom and in a household that probably wasn't your normal household? You knew that, we don't think the way everybody else thinks. We don't necessarily believe the way everybody else believes. What was it like growing up in that type of a scenario?
So growing up, my mom always told me, look, be careful who you tell that you are empathic or that you have had experiences, because not everybody thinks the way that we think. And some people can think of you as weird. And that's just a label that's put upon so many people in the community, is that you're weird. And I don't see it as weird. I feel as it is gifted.
Absolutely.
And so growing up in a household where you have crystals in every single corner, Buddhas everywhere. Like I literally have Buddha like right behind me. I'm just like my mom. I feel like I kind of took everything that she did and learned from it and just kind of embraced the whole thing.
Interesting. Michelle, why do you have the crystals in every corner? Is there a tactical, strategic reason for that?
Yeah, actually there is. And it's actually, what I do is I buy these small rocks and I put them above every door.
You buy what?
Small rocks, like crystals.
Oh, rocks. Okay.
Yeah, small ones. They're like sizes of rocks, and I put them above every door, and specific ones for different reasons. And what the crystals do is you can actually, so for specific crystals, you can actually empower them. And also what they do is they kind of like absorb the negative energy. So if somebody comes into your house that has negative energy, it doesn't get left in the house. It doesn't, it kind of like blocks it all out.
Interesting. And let me interrupt this broadcast with a special announcement, ladies and gentlemen, because in our chat room, I've just noticed that the one, the only Rocky Stucci has made an appearance. I'm very honored to have Rocky, and Rocky is on, I believe, Red State Radio, the Rocky Stucci Show, one of the most gifted political commentators that you'll ever know. And he's not your typical political commentator. Rocky Stucci looks like you think Rocky Stucci should look. Big, huge guy, strong guy. He's tatted up on both sleeves. Very, very cool guy, but very down to earth, very real. And Rocky Stucci is in the building. Amanda, is there any spirituality connected to the wonderful tattoo art that you have?
I do have a third eye on me. You can see that.
I see it.
Yeah, I do have the third eye on me. As well as going back to what my mom does, I do think that it is very important to be completely aligned and have your chakras centered. And I just feel like art kind of reflects as well. So I do have some spiritual tattoos on me as well. Interesting.
Now, how old were you when you started realizing that you are intuitive, that you had some of these gifts that you're talking about?
I learned how to astro project without actually knowing that I was doing astro projection while I was like 3 years old.
No way.
No, seriously.
No, I think it was like 5, Amanda. Were you 3? I think you were 5 because you were, I think you were 5.
I was pretty young. We were really in the driveway at the Foxmont house, the house.
Yeah, the haunted house. The haunted house, yeah.
And me and my mom would be laying in the driveway, and we'd be like looking up at the stars because, that's what we would do. And she'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, "I'm not here anymore." And she's like, "Well, where are you?" And I was like, "Hold my hand." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "I'll show you." And I was telling her I am here. I'm a child.
5 years old.
Yes, but I'm actually floating and I'm going to this planet, I think is what
it was a planet. Yeah.
This planet.
You told me it was a planet. You pointed to the star. You said, "See that star right there, Mommy? That's the one I'm on."
And there was, being a child, there was unicorns and these beautiful pebbles and ocean. And, I was there. It's almost like a form of like meditation as a child. So it was like you are leaving your body, doing the astro projection. I had told my mom, I can see us on the ground.
Amanda, how do you know there weren't unicorns?
I still believe in them.
Yep. I got to tell you guys a bizarre story. I got to tell you this bizarre story. This was about 6 or 7 years ago. I was in a relationship with this girl, nice girl, intelligent girl, martial arts master, just, a sharp person. And she was, late 20s. And she believed and Santa Claus. And let me tell you why. Every Christmas Eve, she would stay up and she, ladies, would see Santa Claus come and put gift under the tree, wink at her. And I'm convinced, ladies and gentlemen, that this woman was really seeing Santa Claus. Now, is it Santa or is it a tulpa or just something that she has projected? But she's seeing a full body apparition of Santa. And if she could see Santa, you can see unicorns.
Hey, I don't discredit anything, honestly.
What would you say to someone, Michelle, if they came into your office and said that they see Santa Claus every Christmas?
Probably laugh.
Yeah.
I would probably laugh. Honestly,
Any danger in that?
Any danger in it? No.
In seeing Santa?
No, I think it's probably what she's seeing is like kind of like an apparition or the spirit of it or something like that. Because obviously, if you guys have seen my last show, you saw that, we were talking about Amanda and I, we lived in this house that was, we shared with spirits. And so some of the times we saw them actually physically, and especially Amanda, she saw them quite often and had conversations with them a lot. And so, when you live like that, you kind of start to understand that they do exist. However, what I've learned over my lifetime is sometimes they can kind of like present themselves differently.
Right.
So maybe it was Santa, or maybe it was a grandfather that was presenting himself, because you can present yourself however you want.
But she still sees him to this day.
Well, I don't discount that. I think that but I don't think it's.
Oh, I see what you're saying. She's remembering her grandpa dressed up.
It's possible it could have been her grandfather sort of dressed up, but dead.
Gotcha.
It's probably a spirit. But would it actually be Santa Claus? I don't know. But who am I to say,
Interesting. Now, was that spirit in that house named Eric? Was that the one? Alex.
Yeah.
So,
Alex.
Amanda, how old were you when you first started noticing Alex? Because it was you first, right, that noticed Alex?
I think that as a kid, you always say like imaginary friends, but I think that there's a fine line between imaginary friends and things actually happening and spirits actually being present. And back whenever I was younger, I am 28, but it wasn't social media age, like we didn't have like Google and everything else to where, and all the TV to where it's like filtered your mind to where it's like certain, where you're supposed to believe certain things, or you can't believe this or whatever, or
it wasn't planted. Yeah, it wasn't planted. There was
nothing planted to like in my brain that like, oh, this is what like a ghost is or anything, or like there's something wrong with it.
Oh, good point.
Like I just remember being a kid and being very susceptible. And I think that I was susceptible because as a child, you're more open. Your aura is a lot more cleansed. You are able to, which can be a bad thing too, because you don't know how to guard yourself, which can lead to attachments. And we'll touch on that a little bit later if you remind.
Right. Absolutely.
But I was very young. We lived in that house until I was like, what, how old, Mom? Like 6, 7?
Yeah. But I got a funny story I got to tell you about, since you brought that up. Amanda was very inquisitive, and she would always ask questions about a lot of things. And so when she was asking questions about God and and the light and all this stuff. And so one day she was asking about bad people.
How old was she?
Like 4 or 5.
Okay.
And she was asking about bad people and, are there evil people or bad people? And I said, Amanda, I don't really believe that people are evil. What I believe is that people lose their light. And I said, so when you're born, you are absolutely perfectly full of light. You're full of all of God's energy, all of God's light. You're your perfect spirit. And I said, and over time, what happens is all these life tragedies happen to you, and you start becoming fearful and angry, and you start to lose your light.
Yeah.
And so when a person is acting poorly, that just means that they've lost their light. And so one day her dad was in a bad mood and he started yelling, and she goes, "Oh, Daddy, you're losing your light."
How did he react to that?
He just shook his head and looked at me and he goes, "What are you teaching this child?" You know?
My dad is a very,
No nonsense, huh?
oh yeah, like that. You guys are talking crazy. Like what? Very traditional, like grew up in a Catholic Mexican household family, you know, so it's just very like, no, we can't believe this. What are you teaching my daughter? And it's not that like anything was being taught. These are things that are already coming to me. I was going to my mom saying like, oh my God, you know what? Like a grown man. Alex was a man. And I saw a couple different spirits. But
That's a little creepy. I mean, to most people listening, they're like, that's creepy. You're 5. Here's this grown man showing up in your room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it was creepy for me because I didn't know that it was a spirit at the time. And she's over here talking about him. For the longest, I thought it was a friend at school. And then she ends up telling me, no, he's a man. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, stalker, you know, pedophile. You know, it was crazy. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, so Jeff, what I wanted to tell you is whenever my mom did her last interview last time, I was on the computer commenting in the chat room.
Right.
And I had told you that 17 people had lived in that house since 1981. So
I remember.
So I did a little bit more research today and I paid a little bit of money, you know, like 22 people are associated with living in that house since 1981.
22 people.
22
wow.
people.
Yeah.
81, 91, 2000. That's less than 30 years.
Yes.
And 21 people lived in it. What state is it in?
It's in
Houston,
Texas. We're in Texas.
And I don't know what the transient ratio is in Texas, but I would think that that's way more transient than most homes would be.
Well, so like in Texas, what you're really, really like, or most houses, is you want a 1-story with a big backyard, right? Like everyone's looking for like a big backyard. And we were living on a cul-de-sac. So we had this huge backyard. It's a 1-story house. Like it is a very nice house that you would want to live in. You know, it's not one of those houses where you're just like, oh, this is, you know, we don't have backyard space. We were on a cul-de-sac. So we had so much room. And behind us is like, it's not like a forest, but it's the woods. And me and my mom would go through the trails and everything. And Mom, did we ever find did we find arrowheads? Do you remember? We used to go strawberry picking, but did we ever find arrowheads? Because what I'm looking into is finding out the property deeds of that area and trying to figure out if it's on an Indian reservation.
As you said that, somebody in the chat room just asked, ancient burial site, question mark.
Well, that area at the time was not really built up very much. I mean, now it's very built up. So there was a lot of land around in that area at the time. Now it's very, you know.
Now, are we talking South Texas, West Texas?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, Houston, Texas. Okay. Now, you could have had even Mexican type, you know, old Mexican, you know, soldiers, settlers, you know, Texans. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, it's named after Sam Houston for a reason, right?
Right. Most definitely. And, you know, with a house like that, and it was a very good neighborhood from the beginning. Now, you know, as years go on, it's, you know, it's off of Main Road, whatever. It's not like a neighborhood that you would just see people just quickly moving out of.
Gotcha.
So I started looking at the street and houses that had been for sale on that street. And our next door neighbor's house, Mom, you don't know this because I found out today, our next door neighbor's house had been sold 17 times.
What? No,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No. So I had looked a lot. So I think that there might be a connection on that part of like the cul-de-sac, something going on with right there. Because there's no other house on that street that had been sold that many times.
That's interesting.
There's some sort of energy connection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how old were you when you first saw Alex? And did you see him or just start talking to him initially?
So I was probably around 4. child, very small child. And there was a couple different ghosts that I saw. I would see a little girl. I had saw a man in overalls. Alex was just one that was the most prominent in my life. And it was heart-wrenching for me whenever he went away.
Really?
Yes.
I was like our best friend for some reason, you know? It was that and her stuffed animal, which we were talking. I told you I wanted to talk
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let me ask a question if I can. Amanda, did you ever see Alex visibly?
Oh, yes.
What did he look like?
He was tall. He was a tall man. It's so hard for me to remember now. You know what I mean? There's just features that you kind of remember, like a. It's so hard for me.
I remember you telling me he had a cowboy hat.
Really? See, I don't remember.
Was he all black? Was he opaque? You couldn't see through him? Was he just like a black silhouette? I'm wondering, was it, somebody asked in the chat, in the chat room, was he a shadow man?
No. She would describe his features.
Oh, okay.
I was very specific because I was like, what does he look like? You know, because
you're still thinking it's some guy down the street.
Yeah, I was thinking it was some guy, you know, pedophile, you know, trying to chase after my daughter. And so I asked her what he looked like and, you know, that whole thing. And so just for some of the people that maybe didn't catch the show the last time, what happened is that I asked her, I was like, Amanda, where does he live? Does he go to your school? No, he doesn't go to my school. Okay, where does he live? And I said, okay, so we walked outside and I said, okay, point, where does he live? And I said, so how old is he? And she's like, he's a man. And then all of a sudden my heart just started racing. I was like, oh, show me where he lives, point. And she goes, Alex. And she turned her head literally like looking the other direction. She goes, Alex, Mommy wants to know where you live. Mm-hmm. And then she paused for a second and then she said, Mommy, Alex said to tell you that he lives in heaven.
Wow. So Alex was right there with you while your mom was freaking out.
And listen to this. She said that he used to be alive and that he got shot with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
Yes.
Do you think he got shot with a gun at that house?
You know, we don't know. We kind of were having this feeling that something might have happened to the little girl.
The little girl.
And
she was a capital B.
Oh, really?
She would pick on me.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Was Alex always nice to you?
Alex was always nice to me. He would get on to me. He did not like my babysitters. My mom was a hairdresser whenever I was younger, and I'm actually a hairdresser now. And my dad worked in the oil industry. And I would have babysitters, and they didn't like other people being in our house. And so things would just happen. Like I would be watching TV, and all of a sudden the cabinets would just open. And it would freak people out. You know what I mean? And then I would just be having conversations like, stop scaring them. Or, you know, just like, I would just be yelling, being like, stop. But they would just do things. And in every single photo of me, whenever I was younger, there's orbs. So
oh my God, that's so true. I totally forgot about that.
No way. Are you serious?
No. We're talking not just the orbs, like dot orbs. They're like
circles, like orbs,
like looks like a vortex.
So they're definitely energy ribbons. There were definitely energy.
Oh yes.
There's definitely spirits
around me, always around me, not around my mom, not around my dad, always like right here, like always.
Wow.
Every single photo that there is of me that lived from that house, there's orbs around me. I always had energy around me. And so I think I had told you that the house always comes to me in my dreams.
Yes.
So every single time the house goes up for sale, I don't just sit on Google and be like, oh, I wonder if the Foxmont house went up for sale. You know, like I don't do that. But I'll be asleep, and I always have this one specific dream. Speaking of shadow people, I almost have like in this dream, not always, only in this dream, have sleep paralysis. And where it's like an outer body experience, and this like black shadow is hovering over me, and it takes me into this tunnel, and we go through this like tunnel, and I'm at the Foxmont house, and I get there, and there's a realtor at the door, and then I open up the door, and then there's just like whoosh, all of these like different like energies and things that are happening to me, and they're mad at me for leaving. And then every time I have this dream, I am like, oh God, Foxmont house is up for sale again. And then I'll go and it's on Trullo, or, you know,
that's
like
amazing.
On Heart. Last year, I had a very, very, very terrifying dream. It was very terrifying. I woke up and I was in complete sweat. Like the shadow was like literally hovering over me, and I couldn't wake up. You know, whenever you have that, like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. I couldn't wake up, and I was getting this like horrible anxiety about it. And then whenever I woke up, it was like, come. So I went. Me and my best friend drove over there, and we couldn't, my stepmom is a realtor, but she doesn't live here. And I almost was like.
So Amanda, you went over to the house.
I did.
Wow.
And then weird stuff started happening inside of my house.
Inside of your house?
Yes.
Now, when you went back to the house, did you see anyone?
No, I couldn't go inside the house. So I
Gotcha.
just like went over, because like I said, there's woods behind it. So we trailed through the woods and then got to the back of the fence, and I'm like peeking over, and like all of this, like memories, feelings, like I got really anxious, and I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm in front of the house right now. And but I went back to my house, and then just like, I think things got attached to me while I went there. And then weird stuff just started happening at my house. I was having things fall off my my walls. And my favorite, I don't know if my mom's going to want me to say this, but my favorite band is called Brand New. It's a band. And I have this poster, and one of their albums is The Devil and God Are Raging Inside of Me. That's just the band's
right.
Like, and that was one of the things that had fallen off of my wall. And you just hear boom. And my fiance, he doesn't believe in any of it. And he was like, oh my God, why are there ghosts back in this house, Amanda? You always bring stuff with you.
I was going to ask you how he felt about all this.
He is not about like, oh, ghosts, but he knows that things definitely get attached to me, and I have to do a lot of clearing. And he will tell you like, oh no, some weird stuff happened in that house after Amanda went back to that house, and we couldn't, and I had to get my house cleared. I went and talked to a spiritual guider, and whenever she was realigning my chakras, she told me that I had a cord attached from my childhood to a spirit.
You think it's Alex?
And I immediately knew that.
Alex got born again, remember?
Yeah, but there was some sort of, you can still have cords connected to you.
Mm-hmm. I think it was probably, because there were so many other ones that were there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, Amanda, you said that your dolls used to talk to you as well.
Oh my God.
Oh God, let me tell you that story.
Okay, please do.
Okay, so she had this one stuffed animal, and she didn't like dolls.
No.
She hated dolls, so she had stuffed animals. And
you're not going to tell me it was a clown, are you?
No, it wasn't a clown. She didn't like clowns. She didn't like rag dolls. She didn't like clowns, and she didn't like dolls. She liked stuffed animals, and she called them her babies.
Okay.
And anyway, she had this one that was a Siamese cat.
Baby
it was
Blue.
It was called Baby Blue.
Baby Blue, okay, because it had blue eyes, right?
Yeah, it was real fat, and fat round belly, and with a little head. And it was a Siamese cat that was really fat. And she would
we're not talking about Rooney, my cat, right now.
She would talk to him all the time. And one time she was in the bath, and I was bathing her, and she sat Baby Blue right there. She had to have Baby Blue right there on the edge. And as I'm bathing her, she's just having this whole conversation with Baby Blue. And I said to her, I said, Amanda, I said, you can talk to mommy because Baby Blue can't talk back. And she goes, oh, but yeah. Mommy. Baby Blue can talk.
Mhm.
Amanda, audible talk you would hear.
Do you think, okay, so do you think that possessions can have attachments? Like, do you believe that?
Are you asking your mom or me?
No, you, Jeff, sorry.
And what's the question? I didn't quite understand what you were saying.
Do you believe that some objects can have like attachments to them? Like,
he did a whole show on that recently.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually, I don't know how much you know about my background, but I used to be a Pentecostal preacher for 20 years.
Yes.
And even when I used to get in a lot of trouble with this, because I believed that even back when I was a preacher, and everybody's like, oh, no, Brother Jeff, that's not true. It doesn't work that way. I have seen it, Amanda. There are things, objects that can I don't know if the object is possessed or if the object operates as a portal or an entry gate for spiritual entities. But yes, I definitely agree. And I think Rocky Stucci would agree as well. And he has extensive amount of paranormal experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it was really, she used to do this a lot. She would talk to her stuffed animals, and she was, especially this particular one, and then one day Baby Blue just disappeared. Now Baby Blue did not leave the house. It just disappeared. We looked everywhere. Even when we moved, we thought for sure we would find Baby Blue. Never showed up.
So Baby Blue just was gone.
Just gone.
And one thing that hit me while we were talking, if Amanda paid a whole bunch of attention to her stuffed animals, and if spirits wanted to interact with her, what better thing to do than to inhabit or attach to one of those stuffed animals that she's already given a bunch of attention to?
Well, right, exactly. Because like I said in the beginning, you are so susceptible because you are so young and
right.
You are so open. So having an object to where a child feels the closest to, just like some spirits can, and not good spirits can come as like little girl voices or
sure.
Like childlike. I'm not saying that is the case, but they do come off as different things.
Right.
And I do believe that that's something that could have happened because things would just be there and they would just disappear. Like things would just disappear.
So it wasn't just Baby Blue.
No, just things. And then
so it almost, we mentioned this last time, Michelle, it almost sounds like it might be a portal situation.
Yes.
Right. That's what we believe. We believe that there's some kind of portal there because when we moved, it all stopped. We had the exact same TV and the TV would turn on and off by itself constantly, change channels. We moved to a new house and it all stopped. Amazing. It was no more.
Amanda, did anyone other than Baby Blue talk to you?
The little girl. And then
I think he's talking about stuffed animals. Did Wolfie ever talk to you?
Wolfie never talked to me. Okay. He was just my favorite stuffed animal. The only one that I really, really, really remember was Baby Blue. Like I couldn't go anywhere. Like Baby Blue would sit on the toilet while I was taking a bath type of deal. Like Baby Blue had to go everywhere with me. And my mom had said, the last show that there was something in my closet. And I really did not like my closet for a very long time. I just had very bad energy about my closet. Something was in there. And I didn't really remember until my mom was like, oh yeah, didn't you think that there was like a spirit living in that closet? And something bad had happened. And I was like, I just remember not liking it, like getting the very bad vibe, like stay away, stay away, stay away.
Interesting.
But once we did the whole little ritual with the water, it stopped it.
All right, we did the spritz bottle and
yeah. So we sprayed the closet with the magic formula that got rid of the bad spirits.
Now, was anybody ever harmed by any of the flying projectiles or things falling? Did anyone ever get physically harmed?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, the most that would happen was that they would interject in the discipline. There was one time we were in the car because Baby Blue went everywhere. So of course and Alex went everywhere. And this was before Alex disappeared. And
Alex didn't ever inhabit any of your animals, right? Alex just was kind of along in his spiritual self.
He was just himself. Yeah. So one time we were in the car and we were driving. And now back in the day, we had these, these car seats for toddlers that, didn't lock in place. It was like a seat that had like a bar across it, and you put your seatbelt through it.
Yeah.
So what would happen is that she would just push it and crawl out of it. And so it wasn't quite as safe as the way that they have them now. And so she was in the back seat sitting in there, and she would always crawl out of it. And that's obviously dangerous. So I kept on telling her that she needed to get back in her car seat. She needed to get back in her car seat. And she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. She was constantly like getting out of it and crawling around. So for effect, because I wasn't the kind of parent that got angry, but sometimes I felt like demonstration of, it was important. So I slammed on my brakes and I pulled over on the side of the road, and I made a pretty dramatic slam, to try to prove a point. Pulled over on the side of the road, and because we were about to go get ice cream, and I said, "We are turning this car around right now if you don't get back in that car seat." And she said, "Okay, Mommy, I promise I will get in the car seat, but I have to tell you something." And I go, "What?" And she goes, "So Alex went and talked to God, and God said that you should not get so mad at me."
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, you tell God and you tell Alex that here's the deal. If you stay in your car seat, then I won't get upset with you." So
ladies, it's almost shocking to me that none of those spirits from that house followed you.
I do think that whenever I went back, that things got reattached to me, because we were living in, we just bought our house. We built our house 2 years ago, and we were living in a rent house in the neighborhood that we live in now. Brand new development, like brand new house. And everything was normal in that house until we had went to the new house. To the old house. And whenever I came back, one night, me and my fiance were laying in bed, and we had the TV off, everything was off, and we were going to sleep. And then outside of my door, you hear ba 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 vacuum, and I heard the word vacuum, just like vacuum. And in my head, I'm like, does this chick think that I need to vacuum my house? Like, I clean, what is going on? And I looked at Daniel, and I was like, I know you heard that, because things kept on happening. And he was like, "Oh my God, shut up, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "No, things are happening. I feel it." And he heard that. He was like, "That freaks me out. Make sure that there's no one here." So, cause he's scared. So
Rocky Stoogie would say, "Shut up."
I got up and I went outside into the living room, walked around my whole house, made sure we didn't leave a TV or something on in the living room. And there is nothing in my house. And I was so scared to go back to bed. And then got back in bed, was laying there, shut the door behind me. Boo, boo, boo. Hey, 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 hey. Right outside my door again. And I was just oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And things just kept on happening after I went back to the house.
Have you got it cleared out now, Amanda?
I don't live in a different house anymore.
Oh, different house. Okay, good.
Yeah,
that was the rental house.
That was the rental house.
Now, Amanda, your mom had mentioned that at the old house, the haunted one, it was the Foxwood house. Is that what we call it?
Yes.
That she had a spirit that would tend to try to violate her personal space. Did you ever have that issue yourself?
I don't think that any spirits were malevolent.
Good.
At all. I think that if anything, I spoke to a spiritual guide one time, not like a spirit guide, but like a spiritual healer. And she looked at me and she was like, "Man, you have an army behind you." And I'm a very strong woman. I'm just very confident, and that is just who I am. And she's like, "You're a warrior, man. You have so many people standing behind you. You just have an army." And I was like, really? And she's like, you have so many spirit guides. You need to start meditating more to be able to get in connections with them.
You know,
So
that's exactly what they tell your mom, of course.
what?
That all that same stuff that you just said.
Oh, well, it's because we're like the same person.
Yeah. Ladies, now all this, you know, people are sitting here thinking, and it makes for great stories. It's a lot of cool stuff. It's very interesting. Sounds like a movie. But what difference did it make in your life? Did you take any spiritual lessons? Did you take any life lessons? How has it affected you in being the adult you are today? And what kind of advice would you give to someone that finds himself in a scenario that might be somewhat similar to what you two grew up in?
Well, so like,
go ahead.
One at a time, ladies.
hey. So basically, with me, if I wouldn't have started to communicate with them and, you know, start that whole process that I went through that was explained in the last video, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So none of that could have happened or would have happened because I wouldn't have been open to spiritualism. So this whole me trying to go through this journey, you know, I made a decision around, I think I was like 18 years old. Oh, I never told you this story. So I was 18 years old. I was living in an apartment, my very first apartment, and I was done with church. That was it.
Amanda wasn't born yet, right?
Yeah, she wasn't born. I was done with church, and I was just like, this is it. I am so sick and tired of the hypocritical, the judgmental. You know, I don't believe that God is this way. And I remembered reading somewhere in the Bible that all those people meditated to talk to God. So I had never meditated in my life, really didn't even know any more than what I read in the Bible that people fell into meditation. So I thought, okay, I'm going to fall into meditation. And so apparently I thought I knew how to do it. And so I laid down on the bed and I just chilled out and started trying to relax. And I prayed for a little while because my whole thing is that God's going to talk to me. So I believed that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to talk to God first, and then I'm going to meditate, and God's going to talk to me just like he did in the people in the Bible. So I laid down and I started to pray and told God, like, look, I don't even know what the truth is anymore. All I want you to do is just lead me to the truth. And so when my life just started moving, and it was like suddenly a Mormon would come over to me and start talking to me, and I'm like, oh, that's the truth, you know. I ran into a book, Ron L. Hubbard's book, and you know, I think it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was that really big, thick book, and
was it Dianetics?
Yep, that was it. And I thought, oh, well, this is the answer. It's Scientology or something like that. And it, you know, it was like every time something was put in front of me, I started to think, oh, this is God telling me this is the truth. So I became more open to things. So like, even though when all this started happening and these spirits wanting to talk to me, I was scared because I had never experienced that. I was thinking I was seeking truth from God. Like, what's the right religion? What's the right belief? And I didn't realize that the universe was basically just putting me in front of all these different things and showing me that all things are true.
And you know, today, even today, Michelle, you're very eclectic in your practice. You're very eclectic in your spirituality. You're very eclectic in what you do. And I'm a firm believer in spiritual pragmatism. If it works, I will use it and I will apply it. I think there's spiritual technologies that just work. And I think these spirits helped you open up to the fact of no matter, we don't have to label everything. We don't have to love everything about everything. But even in places that we wouldn't expect there to be things that are actually workable and that are actually helpful and that are actually effective, we can find things that work for people and work for us in the craziest places. And you're a living testament of that.
So it actually introduced me to having a spirit guide, and the whole concept of connecting in that way with angels or whatever it is that you choose to believe in. At the time, it was angels for me, and so it opened up that window for me, and now I feel like its higher self. But I think that in honesty, whatever your higher self needs, however your higher self needs to present itself, it will. Like, so if it needs to present itself as an angel, or if it needs to present itself as as a guy, then that's what's going to happen, because it's the way that you're going to accept it. If I didn't believe in angels, then it's not going to present itself as an angel. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And
so it sounds like it's been an exceedingly positive journey for you overall.
Overall, it's brought me exactly where I'm at right now. And I think it's been a very exciting journey. I mean, I've had some very weird stuff happen. I've had the craziest shit you can even imagine. And you know, and I've had a lot of learning experiences through this whole process. It's been awesome. All right,
Amanda, how about you? How has it affected your life and shaped you who you are today? And would you say it was positive or negative overall?
I would have to say it's 100% positive.
100%.
100% positive. I definitely think that having everything happen to me at a young age and being so open has made me a very empathetic person. I don't really judge. I feel like if you believe in God, or if you believe in being Pentecostal, or whatever you believe in, that is what you believe in. And I cannot give you any judgment towards that. This is what I believe. You may think that I'm crazy, but I'm 100% okay with someone thinking that I'm crazy, because I'm not really bothered by that. But I know myself, and I know that, you know, if there's negative energy, then I'm gonna, like, something's going to attach to me. Like, I'm very susceptible. I've always been very susceptible. So I think that a lot of people, they lash out, they have bad moods, and they don't understand why. And it's because they're being affected by either spirit energy, other people's energy, because they don't know how to control their own. And it's taught me to be very protective. Like, I'm a hairdresser in Houston, and I have a Labradorite that sits on my station because it helps. You know what I mean? It helps block out other people's energy. I feel like I always have to be protected, because you never know. And I don't want to continue to bring things because I am susceptible.
And you're in physical contact with people too a lot.
All day long. All day long. I touch people all day long. And it's so easy for you to just feel emotionally drained, or whatever it may be. And, you know, I have a client, and her name's Julie. My mom knows Julie. She's been to some sessions with my mom as well, because my mom's a hypnotist. And my client, Julie, she always tells me to leave my Scooby-Doos at home. She's like, leave your Scooby-Doos at home. They followed me to my house. And I'm telling you to take your Scooby-Doos home with you today.
That's crazy.
Yes, because she's very, like, susceptible to things too. And I was like, you have to meet my mom. You have to talk to her. She'll be able, you know, like, you have to meet my mother. And, you know, she actually did a lot of research with me to help find out some information on the Foxwood house for me, you know, like, so she's super interested in these types of things. And, you know, I think it's always been really good, because I'm able to share my story with people. And because it started off with things happening to her, and, oh, you would think that I was so crazy. Oh, girl, no, I do not think that you're crazy. Tell me, you know, I want to know. I embrace it. So I have no shame. I think it's very positive.
So Amanda, not to get into your business, but have you ever thought or pondered or wondered if you know, being a hairdresser might not be your final vocation, if there might be something where you'll start using and leveraging more of this spiritual experience?
You know, probably not. I am an owner of my business.
Okay.
But where I do want to see myself one day is like a motivational speaker or a platform speaker for my community, for what I do, and being on stage. So maybe if, you know, my path leads me to doing two things at once, but right now I like to keep all my eggs in one basket.
I have a suggestion for you. This just came to me, and I don't know if it's, you know, it just may be stupid, but I don't know. You could maybe, and I don't know how this would affect your business. I'll just throw it out there. I was just seeing you cutting someone's hair while they're getting their palm read. I just throw that out there.
That would be a really uneven haircut because
I can just see that.
Like, because they don't have to look at their palm.
Okay, you're gonna have 6 girls. Oh hell no! I'm not gonna pay for 6 out. You know.
Okay, bad idea. I thought I would just throw it out there.
You do have to use 2 hands, by the way, when you're cutting. You have
I mean, Amanda's cutting my hair, and there's a reader reading my palm.
I think that one of the things that you probably are unaware of is that we are in the Bible banger belt.
Even better.
Oh, girl, we live in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you all do live in Texas, and I was going to say something about that, but I forgot. Darn it, I had a good point. So Michelle, sitting back, you know, where you are now, looking at your daughter, business owner, you know, homeowner, looks like you've done a fairly good job with her. How does it make you feel?
I was about to poke a joke, but I was like, yeah, kind of, you know, no. But
I know what I was going to say. Y'all are in Texas.
Yeah.
So y'all know who Waylon Jennings is.
Yeah.
And you said something earlier, Amanda, about, you know, people think I'm crazy. And Waylon Jennings wrote a song that said, I've always been crazy, but it kept me from going insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very, very true. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michelle.
No, that's okay. So I am very proud of both of my children.
Remember, Taylor's the favorite.
That's right. Mr. Perfect, Mr. Multimillionaire.
Hey, Amanda, did you hear he just got a place, a high rise?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, yeah.
Yeah, Amanda just has her own business, just got her own house. She's just getting married.
But high rise in Houston.
But your brother has a high rise in Houston.
No. Anyway, I thought I'd say that because I thought it was funny. Little poke towards you, baby. No, actually, the truth is that I couldn't be prouder of either one of them. I mean, you know, people, they joke around all the time and saying, you know, who's the favorite and stuff. When you have more than one child, it's impossible for that to happen. You love them differently and you love them for different reasons, but you love them equally. And there's no way that I could ever, if somebody put me in front of and said, choose, there's no way I could ever do that, because they have both turned out to be absolutely amazing superstars. I mean, I couldn't ask for more. I mean, Amanda's a powerful, beautiful, intelligent, successful 28-year-old, amazing, amazing, amazing person. And she's accomplished so much, you know. She has a very strong work ethic. And, you know, and a lot of that, I think, comes from the fact that, you know, there was no silver spoon in the mouth thing. It was, you know, you need to work, and not just work like in a store or something like that. It's like, I'm not your maid, you know, so it's like, we all live here equally and we share the responsibility. So
wouldn't it be nice if the spirits could do housework?
That would be awesome.
Amanda, let me put you on the spot for a second. There's a lot of parents out here that are saying, man, if I could do a good job as Michelle did, I'd be really happy. Tell us, if you would, and this is putting you right on the spot, give us maybe the best thing, the best parenting technique that Michelle used on us, and help us all out, not to pick on your mom a little bit, even though she picked on you. Give us maybe a mistake that she made that she could have been, maybe not a mistake, but something she could have done better.
He also said the best too.
Best parenting technique and a mistake that she made. And it may be hard to decide on just one mistake, but if you could.
All right, Jeff.
So I think for my mom, wow, my mom is not a yeller. My mom is a very like, okay, Amanda, okay, so why did you make this decision? like wanted to talk through everything. And she wouldn't let me talk to her until I was calmed down. Like, I swear to God, Jeff, it was like a barrier, like wall of salt where the spirit could not cross. Like there was salt. Like, that was my mom with me in my room, right? And she'd be like, no, Amanda, you're still crying. You can't come out of your room until you're done crying. And I'd be like, I am done crying. I've calmed down. You're not calmed down. So my mom wouldn't let me talk to her until like I calmed down and practiced the art of like breathing, right? Like calming down and being able to have a conversation. And I honestly do, like, I'm very hot-headed. So I really do, and emotionally based too. So I think that it really helped me understand that, like, I can't have conversations with people without being able to calm down first. Because
I bet you Daniel's very thankful of that.
Oh God, yes. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Go ahead. Sorry.
But as far as like the one thing that like it could have been a little bit different was my mom was always my best friend, you know, like, and that is a good thing and a bad thing. It can be, I mean, I still call my mom about everything, like everything, no shame, everything. And so, I think that as like a child, like as not like a child, but like as a teenager, I probably, because my mom was so lax on me, I probably did act out a little bit more. I was a perfect kid though. I never went to the office. I never got suspended. I graduated on National Honor Society. Like, I was a good kid, you know, I didn't do anything wrong, but I was very sarcastic and probably a little bit too mouthy. And it was because like I had that best friend relationship with my mom. And we are so emotionally connected that I just was probably a little bit more too disrespectful because she's so much of a pushover.
Makes sense. Tell us before we get out of here, the name of your salon, where it's located in Houston, because I know we have a lot of listeners in Texas.
So I have 3 salons.
Wow, you own 3 salons. I'm
a partner, yes. So it is.
I don't know why she favors your brother. I really don't. It's just not. Something's wrong here.
I'm so much more fun than Taylor too.
You are more fun than him. You are.
It's called Damsels and Blokes.
Damsels and Blokes. I love it.
Yeah, Damsels and Blokes. I have my location that I work off right now is 99 in Spring Stubner. And then I have one on 249 in Spring Cypress, and I have one on 1960 and 290. But 99 and Spring Stubner, that's where everyone should go.
Dames and Blokes.
Damsels.
Damsels.
Like people in distress.
And Blokes. Reminds me of it's somewhat like a rapscallion, like our show on Thursday night.
Super cool. Like, we're all tattooed, all super fun hair, super edgy, very modern.
Excellent.
Not your like local mom and pop.
Excellent. Excellent. And Michelle, tell us about your hypnotherapy practice, and if people are in Houston, how to get a hold of you, and if people are not in Houston, how they should contact you to find out about your super cool book and all that good stuff.
Okay. So basically, I am a hypnotherapist, and I'm more like a clinical hypnotherapist, which is different than just your traditional weekend course that you take.
Absolutely. And you're not going to make people cluck like a chicken or...
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do stage hypnosis. I don't do...
I can testify for her. She's got a lot of like the blockages that I've put up like very well.
Excellent.
So basically, I do more clinical work. So I work on, I specialize in anxiety and depression. I'm also a life coach, and I do spiritual healing as well. So, but I don't try to convince somebody of a specific belief. I just kind of find out where they're at and use that as a tool kind of to help me with getting them where they need to be. You know, it's like, because it's a core belief. So if somebody believes in faith, for example, they believe, you know, like I asked somebody one time, I said, okay, tell me what your core beliefs are when it comes to God. Because she kept on talking about her religion. So I asked her what her core beliefs were. And she said that she believes that, you know, that if you ask God, you know, he's going to answer your prayers, blah, 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 all this other stuff. And so I said, okay, so you actually believe that if you pray for something that God's going to answer it? And she said, yes. And I said, do you believe that if you pray for something, God's going to give it to you? And she said, yeah, if I do it with, heart, not like I'm asking for Mercedes. And I said,
Right.
okay. I said, okay, so then why is it that you can't believe that God just wants you to be happy? Why is it that you're here with me and you're not utilizing your own personal beliefs to make this happen? And so that's kind of an example of how I'll like use their belief system to help them. Like, what is it that you believe? Okay, well, if you believe this, then where's the problem here? Where's the disconnect? Because what ends up happening is that typically somebody will say that they believe something, but it's just words coming out of their mouth.
Yep.
And it's not a real, like, what they really believe is they're unworthy and that they're a sinner and that they're really being punished and that they've done something wrong. That's why their life's falling apart.
Yep.
And that God's punishing them or something like that. So I have to use what they believe to prove to them that none of that is right. None of that
makes
actually
perfect
accurate.
sense. And should they connect with you through Facebook if they're not in Houston?
Yeah, absolutely. I have Facebook and I have a YouTube that is fairly new. And basically they can go to my my book site, which is youcanbeawesomebook.com.
Youcanbeawesomebook.com.
If you go to my Facebook, it does right on the very top, it has my phone number. People can, if you want to text me or call me or something like that, then you can book an appointment, kind of go that direction. Most
Excellent.
of the time I do not answer my phone. So because I'm usually in a session, so my phone's always on silent. So I do recommend that if somebody needs to get a hold of me, that they text me, and it's a little bit easier to kind of go that direction.
Excellent. And Michelle, we're going to be doing a show every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward to that. And Amanda, I'd love to have you back as a guest in the future and talk about some of the things as it relates to, young females, young people, young business owners, relationships. It'd be great to hear from somebody that's not an old guy every now and then for the folks here on the Gospel Truth channel. Amanda, a pleasure to have you. I hope everybody will check out your salon. Michelle, as always, a pleasure to have you. And we'll see you again Monday night. Amanda, leave us with a great closing thought from your wealth of knowledge.
Just inspire to be the best version of you that you know how to be. And you are your own roadblock, and you have to find your own barriers to break down your own walls to be able to become the highest version of yourself. And just put only positivity into the universe, because what you put out there is what you're going to get back. And that's what I believe.
Awesome. Thank you. Michelle, give us a snippet, something that the folks will be thinking of tonight when they lay down to go to sleep.
How can I beat that? I mean, she's like a record player of me. It's like she's like a what do you call it? Like a mime or a mimic or.
Yeah, we're still waiting, Michelle.
I mean, that's what I say all the time. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. And so many people say, well, how can I love myself? Well, you know what? You're the creator of your own world.
That's right.
You choose the life that you want to live. I told a client today, I said, what if you were the only person? It's like you were living in like a video game and you were the only person in your universe, but in the Xbox, everybody's playing live everywhere else. Okay. But this is your universe. So whatever you experience, wherever you choose to go is what's going to end up happening. And if you turn right, there's going to be a whole bunch of monsters over here you got to shoot. But if you turn left, you might be able to pick up this great sword that's magical, and everything. And it's like, whatever it is you choose to do is what's going to end up happening. And everything is a choice. And so if your life is crappy and if you're not happy, then you know what? Turn the other direction.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Ladies, stay right there for 1 second, if you would. For Amanda, is your last name still Thompson?
Yeah.
For Amanda Thompson and Michelle Thompson, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and I'm reminding you, as always, to unindoctrinate yourself. And we'll see you again real soon.